Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday. We'll just start right out to budget. Go ahead.
Okay, our first presentation for financial statements is risk management. And risk management has a couple of departments. But the first one is their largest one. And this one is their account that for internal services bill all the departments of the county. And so goods and services budgeted at 3.3 million, and they brought in 3 million already because most departments pay in January or February. We still have a few items to collect, which is about $289,000. Miscellaneous is budgeted at 50,000, and they brought in $12,538. That's where investment income on their fund balance.
So this year, the budget in this, and I know it really is dependent on what risk pool and all that charges, was 3.3. Last year's 2.9. We're probably expecting a similar type jump coming up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it for the revenue. Then on the expense side, we have personnel. We have two FTEs for this department. We are right on track with our target for being 4 months into the year. This is for through April. And their budget is $261,920, and they've spent $65,475 so far. Their largest expense category, I'll skip over supplies. That's a small budget of a little over 4,000. They're well under budget there. Services is where we pay the risk pool and our other policies, insurance policies. It's $2.8 million budgeted, and we have expensed $2.7 million. So we pay most of those premiums. This is the one where we paid a large chunk in October, and then we, as far as accounting wise, they reversed that expense, didn't put all of it in 24, and this is the expense for 25.
Kathy,
And-
does that service right there, does that reflect the 25% increase we got this year?
Well, when we paid in October of last year, it was a 20% increase that was in that particular line. And now they're estimating that January of 26, that bill will be possibly 25%.
Okay, so it's
greater.
that one that will, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's the one we'll have to budget even more. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. Do you know what other, I think, I'm not trying to say anything against risk pool. I think it is what it is, but are you hearing anything from other counties of what they're looking at for any of this? Because they're all kind of facing it.
And we're all facing
Yeah.
the same pretty much percentage increase.
Yeah. Welcome to Washington.
Yeah. And then for transfers, we have budgeted 850,000, and we've expensed 850,000. 550,000 of that was a transfer back to the general fund because we needed some additional cash last October. We've paid that back. And then 300,000 is moving to our liability claims to cover anticipated claims. So those expenses will show on a different account, but so far, this is our expense budget on risk management. The next one is industrial accident, which is our workers' comp plan. And this one, we bring in, it's a service department also where we bill the departments. And so we had budgeted $6,800. We brought in 613,000 basically from our service billings. And then miscellaneous is investment income. We budgeted 15,000. We've already brought in 12,000. So we're above budget.
Kathy,
that
could you
one.
go to the previous one?
Oh.
You said for our claims. Is that our deductible? What are we paying claims for?
Yes,
Not paying
it
for
basically
insurance.
is our deductible on any claim that goes to the risk pool. We're responsible for the first $100,000 on liability claims. On property, we're responsible for the first, it's only $5,000,
Okay.
which
I
is
just wanted,
real good.
I was wanting to make sure it was deductible and that we're not paying claims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we pay any expenses on claims up to $100,000. And those expenses could be legal fees as well as an actual claim. Okay, on industrial accident, like I said, their revenue is predominantly internal service billings, and we still have a few to collect. We'll be following up with departments that haven't paid yet, so. And for their expenses, it's all in the services area, and we budgeted 796,800. And we've had so far 233,450. This is actual claims as well as paying a service fee to our third-party claims processor, which is on an annual basis in the range of 30,000, 36,000, something like that. And then there's an excess insurance policy we also pay on workers' comp.
Is the budget on this just really based on historical data, or we use something else?
No, it's pretty much based upon historical data. Yeah. But as they've presented to you before, our total claims are going up.
Yeah,
So
Have we
price,
always,
the price per claim is higher than it has been.
yeah, have we always used a third-party claims processor?
I think they've used a third party for a number of years, and the one that we have has done a really good job. And for the price per claim, very,
Worth it? Okay.
very, very economical. Yeah, because I mean, just if you hired a person to handle that with benefits and everything, you're talking about $90,000 to $100,000.
yeah.
So. Okay, now we'll move to liability claims, which we kind of talked about a little bit. We provide $300,000 in this account, and that's a transfer from risk management. And then we also have well, I don't think we have any investment income in this one, but that's the revenue side. The expense side so far this year, because we've had the claim for the annex building that we turned in, all of those expenses are going in this account. And then we will do a budget amendment to increase our revenue because we're going to expect to be reimbursed for those expenses. So that's not showing yet, and we're going to do that in the next amendment. And that's about what, $150,000 more or less, I think, 140 something. So most of the expenses you see here is that water damage at the annex repairing. That's it for risk management. I'll turn it over to Shelley to give some
Okay.
more details operationally. I actually forgot to say who I was, didn't I? Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director.
How do we?
Yeah.
Shelley
That's what happens
Pierce.
when you go on vacation.
Yeah.
You forget who you are.
Shelley Pierce, Risk Management, and Scott Colleen is away this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and present for the both of us. So Bailey, whenever you're ready. So Risk Management is partnering with HR, and we're really excited to join HR for the new hire orientation. And we're going to join with the safety part of orientation and explain that risk management is really their partner for HR so that we're a friendly face when it comes to incidents, new hire safety, orientation, and training. And we're going to go over questions in regards to the policy. Anyone that is a new hire in regards to like the driving or the vehicle policy, we'll kind of go to more of a high level overview so that it's just not read, sign, understand. We really want to be that familiar face so that risk management isn't scary or intimidating. We want to make sure that all new hires know we're a familiar face and that we're a partner viewed as well as HR. So we're excited to join orientation with all new hires. So our first one will be Summer Help, May 12th, next Monday. So that's exciting, new to risk management. And then an annex update, next slide. The annex mitigation and remodel is all done. So if you want to take a tour over there, it's all nicely done. There's just some minor paint touch-ups and things like that. But as far as the mitigation company that we hired to redo all of the mitigation, it's all complete. They're all done over there. I took a tour last week and it looks really nice over there. So all complete. And then Scott and I have been doing a real deep dive on our NeoGov and our risk pool training, and we went as far back as 2023. And I have some exciting numbers to share with you all. And we're also sharing this with all elected officials, supervisors, and managers, and highlighting some real superstars this week. So for NeoGov training, and this is required training as well as self-elected training, we are highlighting this week your top 3 places, first place, second place, third place for NeoGov and risk pool training. So for first place, we have 2 staff members that have completed 14 trainings in 2023. So their names are listed there. And then 13 trainings completed, and then 12 trainings and their names are listed. And then for risk pool, these are either in-person training or online training. We've got first, second, and third. So that's for 2023. Really cool. It's not all just your public works. There's a great mix of staff. So I wanted to highlight that. And then for last year, next slide, we've got NeoGov and risk pool. Again, first, second, and third. I won't name all of the names. They're all going to be celebrated this week by their supervisors, managers, and elected officials. And then next slide, Bailey. What I'm most excited to share is in 2023 in NeoGov, there was 1,348 completed trainings. And then in risk pool trainings, there was 188 completed trainings by 97 staff members. In 2024, NeoGov, there was 2,434 completed trainings, and by risk pool trainings, there was 162 trainings completed by 75 staff members. That tells me that our staff is really serious about continuing their education, continuing their learning. So I'm excited to share next year, 2025 information. So we really wanted to highlight that. Some certificates are going out this week with certificates of completion that will be highlighted by their managers and supervisors. So really exciting information to share. And then next slide, and this is
You
workers.
probably don't have the data, but do you remember when we kicked off NeoGov?
In
What was your-
2023 is when
So-
they implemented
So it's shown
NeoGov.
that's good that it's been used. Okay,
It's gaining momentum for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Kathy even came up with a good idea this morning that maybe at the staff summertime picnic, we really highlight that and make it a big a big deal. I think it will increase our culture and things like that. So, yeah. And then workers' compensation and open claims as of May 5th. So claims as of March 31st, we had 10 new claims in April, 3 claims closed during April, 0 for a total claims of 13 as of May 5th. And then liability claims, last slide, as of April, we had 12 new claims, beginning of April, 12 new claims during April 2, so close of April 30th, 14. So we added that new cyber claim in April, so that is in that number, in those numbers. And then I also wanted to bring to your attention, I've spoken to each of you individually, the change in the music festival policy. So that will be coming to you guys as a update to the policy, just some updates around the insurance liability, as well as just some of the numbers to keep everyone safe and sound. We wanted to really make sure that the insurance liability coverage was the most up to date to make sure the information online and that the policy was accurate and efficient so that whoever is out there wanting to gain that data, that they have the most accurate and up-to-date information. So that is out there and that will be on the next, it's in Agenda Quick now. So wanted to bring that to your attention that that will be coming your way. That's all I have. Any questions?
It had been what, 4 decades since that's been?
1970? So yeah,
Older than I am.
yeah.
In the seventies, I can see why they had to form a policy.
It was, right when Woodstock was around, I think that's why the music festival policy was created. If I did my research right, I think it was created all around Woodstock.
Hey, Shelley, have we seen, and I don't know if they'd be included in any of your numbers here, but any juvenile claims from years ago? Have we seen any more of those come in?
So we have a total of 3, one that's not official, one that has said they will be filing a claim, but it's not an official claim yet.
Okay,
I know that in the state of Washington, there are 90 claims as of last week. Of those 90 claims, I believe 4 are going to litigation. And that's just the information I have from the risk pool.
Is the filing period closed now?
No, it will be open for quite some time because the statute of limitation is now,
But I was under the impression there was a certain amount of time that they had to file it.
I'm not aware of that.
I
Yeah.
just heard an ad last week,
Oh,
some ambulance chaser called.
yeah, I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of it, like an end date. But I'll look into that, Commissioner, and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
I don't have any additional updates on our 3, other than what I'll share with you during our May 12th or May 14th date. I think I have some additional updates for you that I'll
Okay.
share with you then.
Perfect.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
Shelley.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the next item on your agenda is corrections. I'll have Marin join me.
Good morning, Marin Fox, Director of Corrections.
Morning, Marin.
Okay, there's our financial statements. So our first financial statement is for the jail. And on the jail, we have budgeted intergovernmental 321,000. We've brought in 79,805, $805. And this is, so we're on, we're on track for this particular budget line item. Our target is 80,000 and we're at almost 80,000, 79,805. On our goods and services, which is the largest revenue budget, it's $1,481,000 we have budgeted. We've brought in $172,858. The department has not received all of the quarter 1 payments that are billed. These are jail booking fees for our cities, and I believe also DOJ. So it's showing right now that we're a little bit below budget, but we'll probably catch up once we start receiving our payments. And because they're quarterly payments, we'll probably always lag a little bit on this one for the target. Miscellaneous is, we have a little bit budget there, $1,000. We brought in just $176. Other financing sources is the next largest revenue budget. That's $1,334,382. We've brought in $208,601. This is related to the transfers from the mental health or behavioral health tax. We get reimbursed. And the department has not submitted their March reimbursement yet. And so it hasn't been processed yet. So we will be below target on that one as well a little bit. But that's due to the lag in timing.
That's what pays for, is it the MAP program? Is that right?
The MAP program, 2 officers that are dedicated to the mental health.
To that.
The inmate mental health, and as well as part of our NAVCARE contract for the mental health staffing.
How many mental health do you have over there right at the moment?
2.
I mean,
Oh, inmates. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Probably, I would, 30 to 40 is pretty typical. We also have
Really?
22 currently at Western State Hospital, which is a record.
22 up at Western State?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And we have since billed for the March reimbursement,
Yeah.
so it's just a little bit delayed.
Western State still have beds?
No, they're getting them in within the 2 weeks for the first
They
time
are?
ever. I've requested information from Western about how Cowlitz County matches up to other counties as far as how many people we have at Western versus our population. They told me that they'll give me that information in September or October, so I'll get back to you. But I am curious. It's a number I've never seen in years past. We may have had 4 people up there, so it's not a
How many
bad.
beds do they have?
I don't know. I'm not sure. They've opened a second facility on site, which I believe is how they're getting our people in so quickly. There was
Yeah,
times in the years past, we had waited almost a year to get people
I was
in.
gonna
So
say, when I first come in, I thought you
Yeah.
had a person or people over there been there a year waiting.
yes, and
Yeah.
they've corrected it somehow. It's not,
Okay.
it's good.
All right.
Next, we'll go to their expenses for the jail. The largest expense category that's budgeted is personnel. That budget is $7,271,995. We've expended $1,779,000 so far this year, and we're right about on target, just a little bit below target on that line item. We have 49 positions filled and we have 6 vacancies.
How much of that personnel budget is budgeted overtime? Do you know?
I think her budgeted overtime is it
433.
Yeah, 400.
Yeah, 433,000 a year budgeted for overtime, and I wouldn't know our direct labor total.
Yeah,
Off the
I
top of
don't,
my head.
I don't know it either off the top of my head, but
And do you make that assessment based on open positions?
I make that assessment typically on previous years, kind of the trend, as well as open positions. Obviously, when we have quite a few open positions, that overtime budget's going to need to be higher. I typically leave it a little bit lower, and we can make an adjustment at the end of the year if need be. We currently have, of the 6 CO positions open, we have 3 that are in the final stages and should be on board within the next month or 2, depending on when they're able to leave the positions that they're in. 1 is relocating as well. And we have 6 additional, or 7, I'm sorry, in background on top of that. So it's
So those
good.
3 are laterals?
1 lateral was, she actually worked for us, went to Kelso Police, and that didn't work out. She's coming back, so she's technically a lateral. It'll be obviously very easy to get her on board. And the other 2 are not laterals. One's coming from a mill, and the other one's coming from the East Coast somewhere. I'm not sure what her background is.
And what's the time frame that they're able to get in from the time they're hired?
I mean, 2 months would be the most fast. That would be like if everything went exactly perfect. So, we have to do a full background, poly-psych, physical agility, and as well as occupational health assessments. So each of those steps takes a bit of time. But we have 3 people working on backgrounds right now. So we've been making some progress, and I believe the signing bonuses, it certainly has increased our applications. So there's some hope, some light at the end of the tunnel.
So it sounds like not only applications, but the quality of the applicants too.
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
I'm gonna back up just a hair. If we had you have 30 to 40 mental health people in jail. If we had a facility, which I hear people talk about wanting for mental health, would these people still be in the jail? Are they there because they did a crime, or are they there because they're?
Well, they have to have a crime or a warrant to end up in jail. I mean, I believe having a mental health facility in the community makes sense so that there's an option besides bringing people to jail. There was a woman we had last week that was brought in on 2 pretty minor warrants, and she was absolutely did not belong in jail and very much needed to be at the hospital. We had her released and transferred her to the hospital through the ITA process. So I think there are some, law enforcement doesn't have that decision point. They have us or nothing, but there is a legal component to that. So all of these people could be arrested. So obviously law enforcement needs to be heavily involved in whatever that process is for a facility in the community, because all of these people have some sort of criminal.
Is there
Connect
some balance between mental health and the severity of the crime that somehow dictates where they're going to go?
Well, if it's a felony, law enforcement's not going to have any choice as to whether to book that person. I believe each agency has some latitude in decision-making for lower level crimes. So again, obviously all the law enforcement agencies would really need to be heavily involved in any kind of a planning process for a mental health facility, because they're going to be the ones typically making that decision.
Who makes the ultimate decision whether or not they're staying in jail or going to mental health, into the hospital?
So once they're booked, they have to go to court, and a judge has to make a decision about whether they're going to be released or not, PR, set bail. If someone has a significant enough mental health problem, like the woman I spoke of last week, we'll contact a judge and say, this person really doesn't belong in jail. Would you authorize us to PR this person? And we're going to call a DCR and have them evaluated for ITA. So we will do that with misdemeanors only. A felony, we would not do that. They're going to go through the Western State Hospital, that process.
Okay.
You said, you stated 3 different sets of acronyms. Could you say what those are?
Oh, I'm sorry. DCR, Designated Crisis Responder. So they're the ones, if someone's in crisis in the community or in the jail, they're going to come and evaluate the person to determine if they're a danger to themselves or others. If they are a danger to themselves or others, they'll be ITA'd, Involuntary Treatment Act. They'll go to the hospital for a 72-hour hold, and then a judge makes the decision about whether they're going to stay or be released.
That's what we talked about last week. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is there any relation to the number of mental health people that we have being held in the jail to our general population capacity? Does it adversely affect our ability to take in people?
It can. it has in years past. We currently don't have any booking restrictions, but we have had to restrict bookings in the past when that gets off balance. We have so many mentally ill people that we don't have room for as many bookings. But currently we've been able to not have any booking restrictions since May of 23. But the Western State piece makes a big difference. That's 20 some people that would, a lot of them would be house loans and causing some of that pressure in our housing space.
Well, you have pods, so if you have a mental health person that can't be with others, then it basically takes that whole pod.
Yeah, that's correct. And some of our cells, we only have, I believe we have 76 cells. Of those, there's 6 or 7 single cells. I'm sorry, that might be 10 or 11. 10 or 11, we'll say that. So many of our cells are built to hold 3, 4, 5, and 6 people. So if you have one person in a cell that's meant to hold that many, that takes that many beds off the table that are not available to others.
Does that, so if there is a situation where we can't have anybody because we have a mental health issue or a mental health inmate, does that also affect our ability to take in DOC warrants?
Yes, we do limit a DOC so that we can,
Regardless of the mental health inmates?
regardless with mental health inmates. We have the option on DOC. We can say yes or no. They have options to take them to other facilities, not as convenient, but they do have that option. So that's a component we can control. And our law enforcement partners, the chiefs and sheriff, expect us to be open for them for new crimes and for their warrants. So that's something we've pretty much always done. DOC is also not supervising as many people, so those numbers are coming down. But we're trying to open that door back up a little bit. But again, that's an easy population for us to say no to in order to keep room for the local needs.
Continuing on, can you back up? All right. So supplies on the expenses for jail is at $1,184,000 budget. We've have $193,000 so far this year expended, so we're below our target. Services is budgeted at $4,353,264. We have expended $1,171,000 so far. We're right almost on our target for that one. Services include our IT and our risk management billings, and those were paid in January in lump sum. So that's why we're very close on or a little bit over on our target for services. But that's also the line that covers medical provider for the jail, those types of services. And capital, we have budgeted $123,600 and we've expended $17,000 basically there. So we're under target for capital expense.
One thing to note on the portion that you get from mental health tax, I think we're good through 25 and part of 26.
Yes,
But that is one area that we're mandated to do, and we will have to work that into the budget when
Right.
when that fund runs down.
Right. Because
Yeah.
it's paying for 2 positions as well as the medical, part of our medical jail cost.
And those positions and stuff aren't really optional from the state. They're kind of,
Right.
okay.
Like I said, they bring in about $1 million. I think we budget $1.3 million.
Yeah,
And that's all mental health, behavioral health tax.
right.
Okay, moving to offender services. This is another area for the corrections. They have not a lot of revenue here. They're supported by the general fund, but they do bring in intergovernmental is budgeted at 60,000. And we brought in $3,385. This is revenue that's made up of, from the, I think from the state, illegal dumping revenue as well as Department of Ecology, revenues. And then goods and services is 88,100. That's budgeted, and we brought in $22,583, and we're right on target for our goods and services. And then miscellaneous, we budget $100, and so we don't have anything recorded yet there. On offender services, on the expense side, it's primarily personnel. We have 971,209 budgeted. We've expensed 202, almost $203,000 so far. And on this, we have 7 filled positions and 1 open position as of the date we did this report. Supplies, we have budgeted 15,600. We've expended only basically $2,500, basically. And so we're below target on that area. And then for services, this also is a department that receives internal service billings, and we budgeted 179,436. We've expended 123,313. So it makes us look like we're over target, but that's because those bills were lump sum and paid in January. So. And then finally, the Corrections Department also runs the jail concessions. And this is also in the general fund. We're expecting to bring in about 60,000 in goods and services. We've brought in $16,659. So we're above target on that revenue. And that revenue is made up of commissions received by the jail for inmate, from the inmate phone provider. And miscellaneous is budget 25,000. We've brought in $12,893 so far. And that's primarily, that's supplies, is concessions, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
like indigent supplies, so inmates that don't have money to buy hygiene items. We bill for those. We also get a commission back on our commissary from our commissary provider for the items that the inmates buy.
And then on the expense side, we have budgeted 70,000 for supplies. We've expended only $7,220. So we're below target on supplies. And then services, we have budgeted $17,900, and we have spent $3,656 on services. So we're below target on that as well. And that completes all the financials for corrections, and I'll turn it over to Marin if she has anything she wants to add.
I don't have anything to add unless there are questions.
I do have a question.
Sure.
I'm trying to think this through in my mind, so pardon my ignorance here. I want to go back to our question about the DOC thing.
Mhm.
So you said that the police chiefs, can you restate that statement? The police chiefs just want to have their,
They want to make sure that they're able to book everybody they want to book. And we achieve that partly by limiting how many DOC we take.
is there, what's the difference between a DOC and like a police chief's bringing somebody in?
We can say no to DOC. In our contract with them, we have the ability to say how many we take and whether or not we'll take some very difficult ones. It also protects, you know, a liability for the county if we're, you know, with law enforcement bringing us a new felony, we don't have a choice. We're taking that person in and we're going to deal with it. With the Department of Corrections, the State Department of Corrections, they have other facilities, they have their own facilities. So if it's a really high needs, high risk person, we're going to work with them. We may hold them overnight, but we're going to ask that they remove that person and take them to one of their own facilities or another partner agency of theirs. And that's been a longstanding practice.
Okay, I guess it's just because I'm learning this process, but like, I'm looking at this as a citizen.
Mhm.
I don't care if it's a DOC or a county or a Kalama. I don't want that. If that criminal's getting arrested, I would say I want him off the streets. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I'm looking at it from that standpoint and trying to understand how our protocol fits into taking criminals off the streets
Sure.
if we have them arrested. To me, I'm just looking at, I don't care who arrested them and what it is. If they've got a felony and they've been arrested, I don't want them in our community any longer.
The DOC warrants, it's a hold essentially, are for violating conditions of their parole essentially. So that can be a failed UA, that can be not complying with their work crew. So it's not a new crime, it's a violation of their parole.
Okay.
And so we had that door opened more widely pre-COVID than during COVID, and with all the mental health, we had to tighten that up to keep the doors open for local law enforcement. And so we've never shut the door entirely to DOC, but we did close it somewhat. There are many, many counties that don't take DOC at all. So we are a county that does. I don't think Clark takes any. We do take them, and we're working to open that back up. And we're kind of in a position now where we're able to take some more, but we're still limiting them to some extent.
So as the typical protocol, we'll take them in, contact the state, and then have them transferred?
Yes.
What happens if we don't take them? Where do they go?
They have contracts with other, a lot of times they're going to go to Nisqually. It's a tribal jail. That's the closest partner agency they have. They used to have a contract with SCORE, which is a large municipal jail in the Tacoma area, but I believe SCORE has ceased taking their inmates as well.
So if, let's say a deputy arrests somebody that is for something other than a parole violation
Mhm.
with the DOC, we can take them in because they were arrested for committing a felony.
Correct, yes,
So that
We're
has nothing
taking
to
those,
do with it.
yes.
Okay,
yes.
got it. Thank you.
Of course. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is our building and planning department, and Tracy's going to join me. Yeah, got a warm seat. So the first financial that we have will be our community long-range planning, which is part of our general fund. So we're supported by the general fund. For this year, we are not showing a tremendous amount of revenue coming in. Goods and services, 6,100. So far, we haven't received anything on that. And then miscellaneous, $5,000, and we're already over budget. We've received $11,811 in that category. I think this is because this is the year, next year we'll see larger revenue, possibly,
In general fund?
maybe. Okay, okay. So, then on the expense side, because it is part of the general fund and supported by the general fund, our expenses are personnel. 424,708 is budgeted for this area. And we've already expended $82,988. We are below our target for this. But this is where we have portions, we have 6 individuals that portions of their salary is paid by the community long-range planning, depending upon their activity that they're involved in. And then supplies, we budgeted $3,850 and we only have $63 so far. So we're below target on this line item. And then for services, we have $166,241 budgeted. We've expended $79,890. 52,000 of that is related to internal service billings that were paid in January. So we're showing a little bit above our target on the expenditure side, but that's because a large portion of internal service billings were paid in lump sum in January. So that's it on community long-range planning financials. Now we'll jump into building and planning's financials. This is a enterprise fund, so it's a self-supporting fund. So we've budgeted for licenses and permits, $1,364,000. We've brought in $350,646. We're above our target. But when we compare to last year, we're a little bit lower. We've seen a decrease in permits. Then we have goods and services, $1,360,600. We've brought in $282,425. And this is primarily fees associated. They're largely made up of fees associated with new construction. And again, we've seen somewhat of a decrease in this compared to last year. So we're a little bit below target, but not drastically.
Yeah. These, I don't ever worry about this too much. They're pretty much, I actually look at, not in the long range planning, but building planning and its operations is almost like its own business enterprise. I
Yes.
mean, the more efficiently they get stuff through, the more money they make because they got more permits and more stuff going. So
Right.
the reward for doing it right is actually more revenue. It's a positive thing. And I think they've handled it pretty well.
Yep. On their expenditure side, their largest expenditure is personnel. They have 15 positions filled and 1 position open right now. They are budgeted at $2,240,000 basically for personnel. They've expended $547,900, which is right about on target for this time period. And then supplies, they have a little bit budgeted there, $36,500. Their expenditures are well below target. And services, they have budget, that's the next largest budget line item. Services is budgeted at $1,078,462. They've expended $386,355. They've expended a little bit higher than what we targeted, but that again is due to internal service billings that were paid in January in lump sum. So I don't anticipate any problems here meeting budget. And that's it. I'll turn it over to Tracy in case there's any questions or things she wants to go over.
Morning, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning. I just wanted to give you our monthly reports. We weren't up here last month, so I gave you the first 2 are the building, the top one's April, and then after that's March. So you can kind of see where we're at. Same with planning. I gave you the April one and then March below it. I also wanted to what the completed projects that we've done for 2024. Those are some big ticket items. That's in addition to just our day-to-day permitting processes. So kudos to staff down there. They've done a impeccable job. Gave you an org chart just to kind of see where we're at and who's in what position. And then the year in review of the building permits that were issued, the planning permits that were issued, and the nuisance abatement complaints that we've fielded and worked on, and some of them closed. But I just wanted to touch base, and we're up here enough, but I wanted to, the board, these reports are also online so the public can see them, but I wanted just the board to be aware of kind of what our numbers are. Our revenues are a little bit lower right now, and we're just hopeful that, I mean, it's hopping down there. We've got internal applications, but most of those are single family dwelling alterations or ADUs. And we're hoping for a big commercial project. That would be the icing on the cake for us. That's where the revenue really comes in. So that's what our hope is. Nice big warehouse building like City of Kelso received would be fantastic. So we're hopeful.
Well,
The other thing I wanted to mention is, and I'm jumping ahead, but I'll just tell you there's a personal services agreement with the city of Longview on their city's agenda on Thursday night. And it's for us to fill in when, for plan review and their building inspections, commercial and residential, what we do for Kelso. They reached out to us and asked if we could fill in vacation and illnesses. And so that's on their agenda on Thursday, and then it'll be in front of you as soon as we get that back. And then tomorrow you have a agenda item with the city of Castle Rock, and it's an additional interlocal agreement. And when we originally went into agreement with them, we only did the building side, and this brings in the floodplain management administration. Planning is a separate beast when it comes to state building code is across the board. So it makes it easier for us to administer other jurisdictions for them. But planning is a different, they have their own codes and we do too. And so this is just, it helps us take care of building permits that are within the flood hazard or floodplain. And it gives us that ability to do that for them. So this is in addition to. So that's just an extra little thing tomorrow. So it's expanding the interlocal with the city of Castle Rock for that one ticket item.
And that new relationship's going well.
It's
with
going
them.
really well. We're in the area. It makes sense. We can do it daily for them. So yes, and we go out there daily. Yep. And we're excited for their exit 48 to develop because we'll be out there for that as well. For all the homes and the townhomes and some of their recreational stuff.
yeah.
Who
But that
knows?
is City of Castle Rock.
Yeah, we might be taking, Longview, you might like our service, and then we might get more from them.
And we
go that
fill in
way.
currently for Longview or Kelso currently. They were the first ones to reach out to us. And now we do all of Castle Rock. And so now we're going to back up Longview as well. So it's nice. It's nice to have the interlocal and partnerships with the other cities.
Yeah,
That's something new for us, and it's well received on our end.
good.
Keeps us busy.
Well,
Was
that's a
it-
little bit what I was talking about. If you do it well and you do it efficiently, you're gonna get more business. You're
Which
kind of
is
a
great,
business
which
enterprise.
is great.
so-
And, it's a two-way street. So it's, like I said, it's just nice to have those barriers dropped and the relationships with the cities going well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think you covered item 3.
Yes,
So-
sorry. And I said I
And that's-
jumped ahead.
that's
I
fine.
apologize. But they kind of went hand in hand. So I just wanted to touch base. But that
So
was
when
all.
we get into the next session, I'll just skip over you.
Or I can wait and do it again. That's fine. Whatever works for you. That's all I had, unless you have questions for me.
Okay,
Thank you, gentlemen.
that concludes our,
Thank you.
that concludes our part of the business meeting for financials.
So for agenda review, we just heard about the building and planning one, expanding their agreement with Castle Rock. That's the only one you had, right, Tracy? For tomorrow? I see the sheriff, did you guys want to, I'm assuming you're here for the proclamation? Did you want to chat about that so we won't make you sit around all?
Morning.
We're here to ask that you guys bring the proclamation forward for National Police Week. National Police Week goes back to 1962 when President John F. Kennedy established National Police Week by presidential proclamation, which was his proclamation 3466. And every year since, the President of the United States has brought forth that proclamation, setting aside the week that May 15th falls into as National Police Week, with the observations and flags being flown at half-mast on the date of the 15th. Locally, we will have our candlelight vigil at Civic Center in Longview this year. We move it around. Last year it was in Kalama. This year it'll be in Longview. We have a vigil that we actually do a roll call of the officers who have fallen in the line of duty in 2024. The thing about the National Police Week is we need to take time just to honor our responders, our officers, set aside, recognize the sacrifice that they bring forth. Some have paid with the ultimate sacrifice with their life. And last year, there was no exception. We had 147 officers who were killed in the line of duty. And that's not including COVID or medical issues. That's active, either the 52 who were shot and killed by firearms, live fire, 46 in traffic-related accidents, some vehicular homicide, and another 49 who had physical heart attack or some kind of medical emergency doing their job in the act of combating a bad citizen. And so those figures are lower this year than we've had. However, the death rate by gunfire is slowly increasing again. So far this year, we've had 24 officers killed in the line of duty, and 23 of those were by gunfire. So we're asking that you would approve a proclamation for the county, and that the county facilities would all fly their flags at half-mast on the 15th, and that the county would recognize this week of the 15th as National Police Week.
Mario, the vigil is the Longview Civic Circle?
Longview Civic
That's
Circle,
on
the
the
gazebo. there.
15th, right?
On the 14th.
On the 14th?
It'll be on the 14th, the night of the 14th, 7 p.m.
7 PM, 5:14. Just put it in my notes.
And those numbers you quoted were nationally.
Those are national
Yeah.
figures. Last year, we had one officer in Washington State, one state trooper was killed in the line of duty.
Do we have the proclamation for me to read tomorrow? Kelly probably has it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it.
So do you read all 142 names? Is that what you said the number was?
Yes, we do,
Okay.
as part of the roll call. And we also recognize the 20-some canines that were killed in the line of duty.
Hmm.
When a canine goes down, it's very difficult on the handlers
Yeah.
because
I can
that's their
imagine.
partner.
I know it. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Any issues with this?
I don't
No,
know.
yeah, well, I just haven't seen it, but I'm more than happy to read that and do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have the privilege tomorrow of being back and bringing a vacation just prior to that, so.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Okay. We'll do
I'll
it.
just say thank you and
Yes.
appreciate you doing this.
Wow.
And
I think the thank yous need to go your way. We appreciate you guys.
I'll just mention that, I mean, they do this throughout the country. many communities. And the same week in the Washington DC, they have the big annual memorial candlelight vigil and then a Medal of Honor ceremony as well on the Capitol lawn. So I was privileged to go back in 2021 when Justin DeRozier was honored there. And it's a very moving, very large scale event. And this is just our small way in our community of honoring our officers throughout the country that have given their ultimate sacrifice. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Public Works. You making him work, are you?
So good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. Public Works has 3 items on the agenda this week. The first is a call for bids for the countywide delineator project with a scheduled bid opening for June 9th. This project does include federal funding, and if you don't know what delineators are, they're the white posts that you see along the road that help delineate the edge. Some of these will be going along roadsides and some of them are placed on guardrail. So this is federal safety dollars, and we have an estimate of about $189,000.
How many is that gonna be?
Pardon me?
How many delineators is that?
I don't know. I forgot to look before I came down.
It's not like 4 though, right?
No, it's a lot more than 4. It's more like several miles of them.
Okay.
And they're in different locations. This is easy, delineators are a known, they help prevent run off the road accidents, which in the rural area is the most common and deadly accident when people run off the road.
Winter nights with rain and dark, they're a lifesaver, a lot of those.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I drive a road where they installed some a few years ago, and it made a world of difference for all of the drivers and made me more comfortable with my teenagers driving.
That's just the post. There's no reflectors on these, right?
There are reflectors on
There are
them.
reflectors, okay.
Mhm. Did you want to do your item?
I will, yeah. Sean Rowe, Public Works. Good morning, Commissioners. First one up today is an interlocal agreement between Metro and Cowlitz County. This is something we talked about a few weeks ago. This is for solid waste emergency disposal for the 2 government-operated transfer stations in Oregon Metro. This original agreement came out of the Eagle Creek fire back in 2017. So this is a reiteration of this for a 5-year period. Just some historical data on it. In 2017, it was about 4,400 tons. Nothing in 2018. 2019 was about 3,000 tons. 2020 was 134. 2021 was 70. And then 2022 was about 585 tons. So not a large volume, but when I-84 does close and they need somewhere to go, we're kind of their partner on this side here. Once again, it's not a high volume, it's just more, as needed kind of thing, and we have control over that.
So it's renewing for additional, did you say 5 years?
Yes, this would go
Okay.
to 2029. So for totals, since this was initiated in 2017, it's only been 8,300 tons, so a very small value.
Yeah.
Do we have a negotiated rate with them or do we just charge them standard?
We charge them our standard transfer station volume on that, yep. The number 6 on the agenda under consent is a bid award with Gardner Rock and L Rock for the purchase of road surfacing materials for the year of May 1st to April 30th of 2026. This is the bid award that we award to all people that submit. We will be going back out for this one again. The 2 awards were both out of Toutle and Toledo, so that covers North County. We didn't have any submissions for the South County or middle of the county such as Kalama or Longview area too much. So we will be going out to solicit more bids on this and hopefully we'll have some more submissions on that. So you'll probably see that on next week's agenda.
Any idea why they didn't bid the first time around? Because
We
usually
re-
they're more than this.
We've reached out to them on that and they just missed it.
Oh, okay.
So we're hoping for more in a couple weeks, and so it'll probably be about a month and a half of not being able to use those providers.
Okay.
We don't have any immediate need for them right now anyway, right?
No, currently we're getting our chip seal rock delivered, so we'll roll into that here in the near future, and so that'll be our main drive for the foreseeable future, yeah. And I think that's all of our items for tomorrow. It's kind of a light agenda from us.
Pretty. Yeah, it could be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a new record, who knows?
Let's hope.
Well, I saw we have, is Carolyn online? Katie's online? Okay. For item 5. You're gonna,
Now, can you hear me okay?
there you go.
So sorry.
No.
Got muted in like 3 different places to make sure nobody hears me. So in front of you, you have an interagency data sharing agreement with the SAO for the EMS District 1 audit. It's nothing crazy. We just fill this out every year that we get audited. We will also do one for Cowlitz County when we start our audit. It just gives us permission to share information with the SAO for them to complete their audit and vice versa.
Okay. Any questions? I don't see any. Looks pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that covers agenda. Jessica, we're ahead of time, but if you're ready, okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I did want to introduce our new Deputy Director, Katrina Perkins. She started with us on Thursday, came from the Longview School District, so we're really
Oh.
excited to have her.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
I do have one request this morning from OPD. They're requesting to fill a paralegal position. The employee left 2 weeks ago, so they'd like to get her position filled.
Okay, I don't see
Okay.
any objection.
Okay. And that's all I have this morning.
Just that?
That
Just
was it?
that, yeah.
Wow.
Okay,
You normally
wow.
have a lot of stuff, good stuff for us.
That was easy.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably come up with some things, but.
You can leave it at that.
Okay.
Well, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
I think we're good for around this morning. We will adjourn. Thank you.